What up, guys? Your boy Quake, and there seems to be issues amongst the GUnit members once again. And before we get in this video, be sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. I'd really appreciate it. There seems to be some clear issues amongst the GUnit members. There's been a lot of issues going on with Lloyd Banks and 50 Cent, Young Buck and 50 Cent. And if you guys don't know, Kid departed GUnit a long time ago. And just recently, Young Buck has made his issues very clear with 50 Cent. There is a lot going on here. Apparently, 50 Cent is getting accused of stealing money from Young Buck, from all the money that he's made throughout GUnit. There is no specific time period, but Young Buck got on Instagram Live and basically said that 50 Cent, he didn't say his name because of the reason of the lawsuit, and I'll get into that later. He basically said that he's been having his money stolen from all the music that he's made in GUnit. He didn't mention GUnit either, and the reason why he didn't say 50 Cent's name or mention GUnit was because allegedly 50 Cent sued him for defamation. And what defamation is basically is just damaging someone's good reputation. And apparently between 50 Cent and Young Buck, this has been going on for a while now. So 50 Cent allegedly just recently sued him for that. And when he did get sued, he went on Instagram basically ranting about that whole situation. Now let's talk about each member and why exactly they're not cool with each other or why they're not on GUnit anymore. The first member is Kid. He decided to basically move on. He realized that 50 Cent wasn't really focusing on music, and there's no harsh words between the two. They basically just split ways. Kid decided to go independent and do his own thing. There's nothing wrong with Kid or 50. They don't have beef or anything like that. I personally really liked Kid. I loved his flow. I loved his lyrics. He's very, very lyrical. He was probably the second best lyricist on GUnit when the whole 2014 reunion happened, right under Lloyd Banks. So I really liked him. It's a shame that happened, but people split. It happens. Now let's talk about the issues between 50 Cent and Lloyd Banks. Basically, in June 2018, 50 Cent went on Instagram and said, Lloyd Banks is no longer part of GUnit, and a lot of people were reacting crazy to that post, but I saw this coming from a mile away because 50 still feels like Lloyd Banks is lazy and he doesn't put in the work that he should be putting in, because 50 has seen always a lot of talent in Lloyd Banks. A lot of people consider him one of the best lyrical rappers ever. And to agree with 50 Cent and a lot of people's views is that Lloyd Banks is lazy. I mean, he's promised us a lot of projects. He's very talented. I don't know why he doesn't use his talent more. He could have been one of the best rappers ever, probably historically one of the best. He could have surpassed even 50 Cent if he actually put in that crazy amount of work, but he never does. And I believe when GUnit reunited in 2014, 50 voiced his frustration with that, and he was hoping that maybe Banks would get the message and eventually start doing his thing again, but that never happened, and that's what caused the departure with 50 and Banks, because 50 ultimately in his head was like, Banks is not listening, he doesn't care enough for this, so why should I put my time and effort into this reunion that we had when I could just be doing movies and making millions and all kinds of money and other things. 50 and Banks do not follow each other on Instagram anymore either, so basically they're probably not on talking terms at all. I know that 50 said in the Crazy song that was released in early 2018 that he no longer talks to Banks, but it was rumored that song was recorded a very long time ago, so we don't know how accurate that song was in the time that it was released. Now, in terms of Young Buck and 50 Cent, basically when Young Buck got accused of messing around with a transgender, that's when 50 Cent decided to distance himself from Young Buck. Apparently 50 Cent ended up unfollowing him and eventually ended up blocking him and even clowned him on Instagram. For those that don't know, Young Buck had a transgender come out and basically say that they had a relationship, and the transgender released a bit of video footage that didn't show Young Buck's face, but showed a body structure that looks like Young Buck, allegedly, of him, performing a sexual act on her and stuff like that. The transgender then released text messages and released phone conversations between the two of Young Buck begging her to take the stuff down and him offering her $2,000 to take it down, and so on and so forth. I don't know if any of that is true. It's just a rumor. It's alleged. It's not 100% confirmed by anybody. For me personally, though, I could care less about that. My issue is the fact that GUnit split up once again. I feel like this is something that is hurting the fans. I mean, I'm a huge fan of GUnit. I grew up on them, and they're arguably, if not the most successful rap group ever in terms of commercial success. Every artist went platinum. There are some artists that went multi-platinum, like Lloyd Banks. Game did 5 million. Buck did double platinum. Yayo did platinum. So everyone was succeeding. It's a shame that this group can get back together and actually start to tour and deliver albums once again. I thought that was going to happen in 2014. I really liked the Kid Kid edition. Kid replacing the Game. I was a fan of that. I didn't mind it. Of course, I would have appreciated if Game would have got in, but that never happened. Regardless, they released 2 EPs, and then they never released anything after that. And it's a shame because they could have kept that going, built a buzz, started touring again, and making hundreds of millions of dollars, because around the world, you know, maybe in America they're not that big anymore, but around the world, they're still a huge group and can still bring in hundreds of thousands of fans, and that equals to millions and millions of dollars. So after Buck got caught with that transgender and all those rumors started going around, 50 Cent decided to clown him on Instagram and then ended up unfollowing and blocking Young Buck. And then Young Buck responded by saying that 50 Cent was stealing money from him while he was working with GUnit. There isn't a timeline for that, but he said he's been getting money stolen from him.
You can't unfollow me and block me. Talk to me. No, sucker, I'm on your head, sucker. You gonna give me my money, sucker. Your defamation of fucking character threats don't mean nothing to me, nigga. Fuck you, nigga.
And the reason why I don't believe him when he says this is simply because if you look at 50's history with his artists, they've never said they've never gotten paid. If you remember when Tony Yayo was locked up in 2004 and 2003, when GUnit was touring, 50 said he would take money aside and leave it for Tony Yayo so that when he came back, he would have $1 million in his bank account and he would be set up so he would be ready to drop his album. That's something that sounds way believable when it comes to 50 Cent. Also, if you guys remember, 50 Cent paid Young Buck's IRS taxes issues twice, and Young Buck even admitted to this. So now to say that 50's stealing from him isn't very believable, but because of the history that 50 and Buck have had and the history that 50's had with his artists. So after Buck claimed he was getting his money stolen from 50, that's when 50 allegedly sued Young Buck for defamation. And that's where we are now with Buck and 50 having issues. But yeah, that sums everything up. Like I said earlier, it's a shame, man. It's mainly hurting the fans, the people that want to see more music from GUnit as a group. It's a shame that we get to see rock groups stay together for decades, and hip-hop groups never seem to stay together. They always seem to fight against each other, and they're leaving millions and millions on the table. Fans would love to see them tour, would love to see them release music. They're losing money and they're hurting the fans, which is the ultimate shame in all of this. With that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys think 50 Cent actually sued him? Are you guys upset about all that's happening with GUnit? Do you guys think will there ever be a reunion ever again? Or is this the final say? Is this the final nail in the coffin for the group? Also, would you guys like to see a more in-depth review sort of documentary of the rise and fall of GUnit? I was planning on doing documentaries about Jay-Z, Rockefeller, and Dame Dash and their fall. So let me know if you guys want to see something like that relating to GUnit as well. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be reading them. With that being said, if you want to support the channel further, you can do so at patreon.com/diversementality. For just $1 a month or more, you can help support this channel further. A link is in the description below. Like, comment, share, and definitely subscribe. I do videos like this daily on hip-hop news and much more, so definitely subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at QuakeGW. Like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.